NASA SEED program, it's a program that teams undergraduate teams from across the country with NASA engineers, and they work on a project together. Carthage has been involved with this program for the last 5 years, ever since it was created. Carthage has been involved with this now. So it's been 5 years, and that's actually a huge thing because there's only one other school in the whole country who's been accepted to this program 5 times. Our experiment is testing a zero-gravity fuel gauge, and how it works is it uses vibrations to measure the amount of fuel in the tank. And so how it works is everything vibrates at some natural frequency. So if you hit it, it vibrates. The tanks are no different. They have their natural frequency, and we can measure that frequency. And then it turns out that frequency actually changes based on the amount of liquid in the tank. And as I said before, we can measure it, and knowing what frequency it's vibrating at, we can work backwards and figure out how much liquid had to have been in the tank. When we get down to Houston, the first thing we do on Friday is we go through like your usual safety briefings. And then once we get into the hangar, the first thing we do is we unpack our rig from the crate. And this is always sort of a stressful event because you never know if it actually survived shipping and got to Houston okay. And then the second day we're in the hangar is on Monday now. Monday's the TRR.
So to pass the TRR, the Test Readiness Review, which is a final inspection by all the NASA engineers to give us the green check mark to be able to put it on the plane, we needed to elect one person who had a good understanding of every single part. And that came down to Steve, because these NASA engineers, they care that this rig won't break off its structure support on the bottom, that it won't shear off, that pieces won't go flying, that it won't hurt anybody, even if the plane crashes. And so Steve took them through basically a guided tour of everything that we had.
That's another big milestone. So once you get past the TRR, then your experiment is approved for flight. And then our third day we were down there, it was Wednesday, and that was actually flight day. In the morning, our first group of flyers went off. They did the experiment. I was in the first group, so when you get to the top, you're sort of like going over a hill, and that's when the zero gravity is. So like as you're going over the top of the hill, so if you go over a hill really fast in your car, you'll sort of like float out of your seat a little bit, and that's exactly what's going on in the plane, except it's more, so you're actually experiencing zero gravity.
You hear the engines turn off, so you know it's coming, and then all of a sudden, you're not touching the floor anymore. It's like someone hit a switch, if there was a switch, and gravity's off. Even though it's a gradual thing, you just kind of feel like, whoop, all of a sudden I'm floating.
The experiment went pretty well, probably as good as it could have with the time we're given. I think we got in every data set we needed. It looked a little bit different than it does on the ground just because of the sloshing of the fluid in zero gravity, but we definitely got solid data.
The experience of flight is just incredible. No other word for it. It's just you're sitting on the floor and then all of a sudden you're not. Like, so there were 2 people who wanted to be spun at the same time. So I went first, picked me up, started spinning me, then shoved me off to one of the other people to have me keep spinning. So then he could start spinning the second person. The coolest thing I've ever done in my life, for sure.
The experience of the flight was better than any roller coaster. I'm going to brag to all of my friends at Six Flags because I work there, and they're all coaster enthusiasts, so I can brag about this being the best coaster ever.
So while we were down in Houston, there was a lot of exciting things, and some of the most exciting were the tours. When you step up 10 feet away from a Saturn V rocket that's right there, life-size, and was ready for flight, it's pretty exciting. We got to go to the rocket park. We got to see the future of NASA in their deep space module called the Orion module that one day may go to Mars and beyond. And I was excited already to be there, but this is kind of opened up some potential career aspects.
We got to go see the mission control for the International Space Station, and then we got to go inside the mission control used during the Apollo and the Apollo program, which that was really cool. We got to sit at the different desks in the mission control, and then we got a tour of the space vehicle mock-up facilities. That's where they got all of the different like full-size models that the astronauts go train on. So they've got like a full-size model of the space station. The astronauts walk around inside to get used to where everything is. I think I benefit from this mainly just from the experience I gather through it, because this, for a lot of us, this is our first exposure to real engineering, designing things, and then following all the different review processes you have to go through. So for me, a lot of it is the experience of the engineering, but then there's also just the experience of going to the NASA facility and just working there and working with the engineers. And then every so often there'll be astronauts will stop by and you can talk with them, and it's just a lot of fun.
Even though that Carthage has done this now for the past 5 years, this last spring was our 5th time participating, we're still going to have to apply again, and it means we're going to have to put together a team that is capable of meeting NASA's specs. And so we're going to really have to show our knowledge again to get NASA approval and an invitation to go work for SEED again next year.